What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Old English D, a Detroit Tigers podcast. For quite possibly what is Casey's final intro of his tenure on this podcast, at least indefinitely. That is right, guys. We have taken a little bit of a sabbatical the last few weeks, and I think we both, you and I, my wonderful, brilliant co-host Josh, I've come to the decision that maybe time to take a little bit of a different road. We're gonna pivot with this pod, and it's gonna be a little bit different going forward. So, first, let me get you in here. How are you been? It's been a couple weeks. How are you feeling?
Yeah. Last episode that we recorded was released June 12th, so we've taken right around a month off here.
Oh man, yeah, almost exactly
right after
a month.
the Brewers series, if you remember, for context. So, yeah, I've been good. It's been a much needed a mental break. I mean, you watch baseball games so much differently. And to be clear, we have been keeping up with the team and watching. I would say between the two of us, a majority of the games and making sure that we're appraised of the situation. But it, like I said, we just watch so differently and think about things a little bit with a little bit more of a free mind. So that's been good. Life's been a lot with the 4th of July as well. So that was a part of it too. But yeah, you sound like you've got some things on your chest you'd like to get off your chest.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you said it well, right? We took almost exactly a month off, right, and tried to figure out kind of what the next step looks like, and yeah, I just throughout the entire time I was like, okay, we're gonna take this time, and I'm really gonna kind of figure out what my next steps look like as far as getting around a mic and talking about this team, and I want to be clear about a couple things. Obviously, right, like, I think when we first started this endeavor, you and I, both of us, we were in different life stages. I think you've gone through the biggest life changes, obviously having a kid, starting a family, different things on that front. We both were doing different things for work. And so, our work-life balance was a little bit different on both sides. And really for me, I didn't take this decision lightly. And whatever decision I ended up coming to, I wanted to use this month that we gave ourselves to really say, okay, what is my, mental capacity, and what is my, desire to continue to do this. And honestly, throughout the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's come to the point where I'm like, this is the most fun I've had watching the Tigers in the last 2.5 years. And that was when it really kind of started to click for me. And, then it was just kind of having a hard, tough conversation with you where it's like, yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if it makes a whole lot of sense right now. The driving forces, right, you can point to a lot of different things. I want to be clear that it has really very little to do with the Tigers' performance this year. I mean, obviously they've underperformed, and it's a little ironic that we're actually in a time when the vibes are extremely high. Just coming off a great sweep from Cincinnati and then stealing one from the Guardians tonight. We're recording after the first game of the Guardians series. So, yeah, I mean, vibes are actually super high for this team, and I actually think there's a lot of positivity to look to. A lot of good things have just kind of culminated into some positivity for the team. Riley, obviously being an all-star. Tarek, obviously being an all-star. Our first two legitimate all-star nominees in who knows how many years. Obviously, we had Miggy and a +1 before, but that was just kind of like an honorary thing. So the team and really where it's been is actually really in a better place than they've been pretty much the entire time we've recorded this. So I'm not stepping away for really any of those reasons. I'm stepping away just because it's just a bad time right now, right? Like I just think I want to enjoy watching Tigers baseball again, and as I said, I really haven't over the last 2.5 years. it has become way more critical and cynical and jaded of a perspective, and that's never really where I wanted it to go. It is awfully time consuming. That is obvious, right? Like, not only is it 162 baseball games, which that's true, and we were never really shady or cagey about the fact that like we're not going to be able to watch all the games, but it did get to a point where like I wasn't able to come to this podcast and come prepared in a manner that I felt was fair to the audience. And that's where I started to really take a step back, and I'm like, yeah, that's not fair to whoever's listening to this, because when I'm listening to a podcast, I want, experience, knowledge, a little bit of jokes there in the middle mixed in, and just really, people that just enjoy what they're talking about. It got to a place where none of those things were really true for me. And I think on, a 30,000 feet level, it was coming across in the content. And when it starts to do that, that's when you're like, okay, well, let's reevaluate what this looks like. So I am, probably not gone forever. I know you have a couple ideas of what the podcast looks like going forward. I'll leave that all to you. It's all yours. Honestly, like, I think, for probably about a year, I think I've been holding you back more than you've been, holding me back, or anything vice versa. I think you've been trying to push this thing forward and push it to a sustainable level, and any kind of growth that we've seen from this podcast is purely and solely because of you. And I'm just kind of been along for the ride, and I feel like I'm kind of robbing you of any kind of opportunity to make this into something. So I think for all those reasons, I think it's best that I take a step back. Did you have any follow-up or anything that you feel like I missed, or do you want to tell the kids what the next kind of, I don't know, what the rest of this year looks like, and then kind of what your plans are for the future?
Yeah, well, first of all, I appreciate all that you said. It is kind of interesting to go back and look at where we've come from, where we were at when we started all of this, the blind optimism that we both had in our first
Such
episodes.
blind optimism. Oh my gosh, what the glory days, man. Oh, whew.
But yeah, life happens, and I've always been cognizant of that, especially with you and the podcast. And obviously, you guys could probably tell within the last couple months of us recording, we were a little bit stressed for getting stuff recorded, getting together to do that. And something that I think you probably don't want to talk too much about, but I think it's worth mentioning, is just the strain it put on our friendship right now. I've moved to Grand Rapids from Fort Wayne, and you pointed out, I think we've seen each other less
Exponentially
since I moved
less.
within the last almost a year now. We've seen each other less than before, when I was 2.5 hours away.
Yeah,
so
we've
that's
gone
not something
from
we wanted.
Yeah, we've gone from living 250 miles away to seeing each other at least, I think it was kind of down to like 3 times a year. That was like the average. You were gone for like almost 2.5 years. I think I made it down there like 6 times. I've seen you a total of 3 or 4 times since you've moved back to Grand Rapids, and you're literally 10 miles away from me. So, I mean, just to give the people an idea of like what our friendship was like, and what we really strive to do, to keep it together when you moved. And then now, like, we just have kind of completely put it on the back burner. And not to be too candid or too transparent with it, but the reason we kind of started this was not only because we have a foundational love for the Tigers, but this was really one of the ways that we decided to move forward with our friendship, period. You and I kind of hit a rough patch, with some extracurricular issues, and we're like, we need to be intentional about our friendship. Let's start a podcast. And it didn't exactly go like that, but I think it kind of grew from that, like, hey, we enjoy hanging out. We want to keep on hanging out. This is a cool way to, and really a unique way to do it. Maybe not unique for 20 24. Seems like the podcasts are jumping up all the time, but I think for us it was really a really good outlet. Until, for me, until it wasn't, and then it became more intrusive and more dire to our friendship. And it's like, now you end up, 3 years in, and it's like, I really haven't been intentional with Josh in a long time. So not all the pod's fault, but a lot of it.
Well, and I think when we would ever talk about doing stuff, I think we would both feel bad about doing things outside of the podcast if we hadn't recorded, or if we weren't like up to date on our recording and research and all of that stuff. So that was a big part of it too. Yeah. So, but we'll look to rectify that here shortly. But when we talk about moving forward, I do want to just say first, before we get into any of the nitty-gritty details, Case, you are welcome on the pod whenever. I don't really view this as a departure as much as it is just an adjustment of schedule. If you, like, whenever you want to be on the pod, you ever want to co-host, whatever, the door is always open. I know that's pretty cliche and pretty cringe, as the kids say. But I think just to have that freedom to come and go as you please, and just the freedom of recording, of saying, I don't feel like it. I think that's going to be super big for both of us. To be able to say, yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah, it works. And things like that. Moving forward, I'm still planning on doing a weekly pod. Still going to work out the release date a little bit with you guys. Just to kind of try to see where it works best within my schedule, and where it works with the season coming up. We got a little less than half of the year to go here. We're going to still try to do something for the draft, still looking at the trade deadline. There's a lot of exciting things coming up here. We'll have to cover some of the All-Star Game festivities as well. But mainly, I think one of the biggest things that even Casey and I both discussed when we were talking about where the pod was going to be moving forward, we both feel like we didn't have the freedom, the mental freedom, the mental capacity to really speak our minds when it comes to this team for whatever reason. And I do think that really hampered our love for doing this. That's going to be something that's going to change moving forward. Not that we're going to be fast and loose with whatever we say. I think it's still important to be, somewhat professional about it, but just to have the freedom to really speak our minds, and especially me moving forward, just having the ability to enjoy what I'm talking about. And if I have something I want to say, I can get it off my chest and actually say it, and not feel bad about it. That was a big thing for me, especially. So the format will be updated. We're going to do some experimentation with it and see what it looks like. I might try to do some polls and some things online on the social medias to see what everybody wants when it comes to length of pod, when it comes to segments you guys want to see. If you guys wouldn't mind keeping an eye out for those, let me know what you think, because I do want to keep people entertained. And the team's performing a little bit better right now, like Casey was saying earlier. But when those rough patches come, we have to have something to really fall back on, and where it's not just me sitting in front of my computer raging against Scott Harris and Chris Ilitch. I think that's probably not the most useful use of anybody's time. So keep a lookout for all of that. Like I said, Case, you're always welcome back on whenever. This is just an adjustment in scheduled in the programming for everybody. But is there anything that you want to get off your chest about the team before we sign off here?
Oh, well, first, I very much appreciate that. The door is always open, and I will definitely take you up on your invite eventually. And just as a note to everyone listening, like, what you just said is so important. Like, I want everyone to continue to listen to this pod. I want the numbers to grow higher than they've ever been. I want you to succeed, and again, like, just like it's kind of a testament to where I think I'm at in my kind of life right now. Like, you are so much more geared and you have so much more energy to put towards this product right now that it really is going to be even better without me. And it's crazy to say because you're you're gonna kind of do a one man show, or at least for the majority of the time for now, do a one man show, and that's got to be terrifying. And I don't even know why you're excited about that, but I can hear that you're excited about that. So kudos to you. You don't have to do it. There is some element of being able to keep it sustainable and keep it alive. And yeah, hats off to you, because I don't know if I would have the same mantra. So everyone, please keep listening for Josh. He's gonna do great things. And again, yeah, you're probably not gonna hear the last of me for sure. It's just right now where I'm at, what it looks like. It's a heavy workload, and I think that's me being at peace with that is okay. This team is infuriating. Incredibly frustrating, really fun sometimes to watch. That is like that. As I said, yeah, I mean, obviously the last 3 weeks have been very up and down, and now we're kind of in an upward trajectory. I do want to say that, ever since we made the final decision to kind of go this direction with the pod, the Tigers haven't lost yet. So, while that's not public knowledge, or at least it wasn't at the time, there is something to be said about that, because it does kind of feel like sometimes this has been a curse. So, it is what it is. But I will be forever diehard for this team, even when they, seem to go the complete opposite direction that I think they're going to go. I think, like I said, there is a lot of positivity kind of in the background. That is, you might have to squint to see it, but it's there. And I think there are more positive times ahead. And, who knows? Maybe we won't be complete sellers at the deadline if we win 12 in a row here.
I'm not sure about 12 in a row, but we'll take what we can get at this point.
We can hold out hope. Did you have anything else you wanted to mention and maybe say as parting words for this final one? Did you want to sing us out, as they say?
No, I think it's apropos that you close the show here one last time for the folks. Okay. It's a little bit shorter right now. This will be the podcast for the week here, just as kind of a teaser update going forward. We'll get into some early draft things that I've been looking into. We'll see kind of where the Tigers sit, who might be available there. And then we will kind of look at the All-Star game, All-Star stuff. And we'll have to find out. I mean, apparently Riley Green has been thinking about the home run derby, which I don't have a lot of thoughts on that, but we'll get into that on a future episode.
Miggy, I'm sure, just had a stroke when he saw the quote about anything to do with Riley Green. Real quick, gut check. Do you think Scooby's going to start the All-Star game?
Man, it's going to be really close on the schedule and whether it's his turn in the rotation.
I did the math. It would be his fourth day. It'd be his fourth day of rest, and he would obviously have plenty of time after the All-Star break, but he wouldn't have to pitch the full game, and he is the clear favorite. Just saying.
I truly hope that they can figure out a way for him to do it, and it makes sense with his health. Mm-hmm. I think it would be the first time since Verlander in Kansas City, right?
That seems to check out for me. I don't know if Scherzer ever got a start when he was with the Tigers. I can't remember, but maybe Scherzer did. But I think
anyway. Yeah. I truly hope so. That would be so cool.
Yeah, that would be super special. And my prediction of having 4 there didn't turn out to be true, but you could make the argument that there were 4 somewhat deserving candidates. I mean, in past years, Reese Olson would have been the choice. In other years, Jack Flaherty would have been the choice, and they would have just been our sole representatives, and that would have been it. But thankfully this year we have some smart players who voted the Riley and Tarek in. Not very smart fan. It's not very smart fans, though. I will say. But I just real quick, the voting situation on the All-Star game, it's got to be so much easier. They've got to make it so much more user friendly to vote on these things, because it's like, why do a fan vote and make the fans jump through billions of hoops? I don't know. Whatever.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Josh, where can the kids find us?
Agreed. We are on all of the socials at Old English D Pod, Twitter, Instagram. We're on Reddit. We're on TikTok. I'm trying to think of all the different places. Like I said, we're going to be putting out some polls here soon on the content moving forward. Please give your feedback. I do value that, and I want to make the podcast as Casey just said, user friendly and the most digestible that we can make it. And I would value your feedback on that. So if you wouldn't mind, that would be awesome. I appreciate you guys.
Josh, it has been a pleasure. I appreciate the heck out of you. Do good going forward. You're going to do great things, and I know you will. When you put your mind to things, typically you make them shine. So I appreciate you. Guys, I thank you guys so much for listening. The audience that we built up over the last 3 years. Again, I don't think I'm going away forever, just indefinitely for now. But I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, go